nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take your seats. So welcome everybody, we're glad to have you here. I'm Chief Master Sergeant Troy Abel. I'm the Enlisted Association President for about another 6 hours, but who's counting? So also with us today we have Command Sergeant Major Chris Hargis. He is our first vice. We'll be taking the gavel this afternoon. That is if you all confirm him. Second vice, okay, Ken, you have to give me your rank. Sergeant First Class Kim Boyce. Our dual-hatted past president / treasurer / finance committee chair, and we appreciate that you put dual hats on to cover up that shiny head. Max Miller, Master Sergeant retired. And Alyssa, give me your rank. Tech Sergeant, that's what I thought. And then our secretary, Tech Sergeant Alyssa Elder. Those are your officers for this year for the Enlisted Association. I would like to recognize Chief Maurice Williams, our State Senior Enlisted Leader. Sir, thank you for being with us here today. I believe I also saw Command Sergeant Major Whitley in the back. Army Command Sergeant Major, thank you for being here. And Chief Stacy, Command Chief for the Kansas Air National Guard. Thank you all for being here this morning. Do we have any other Command Sergeants Majors or Command Chiefs, active or retired? If you're here, please stand and be recognized. Come on, I know there's a few of you out there. Thank you very much for being here. And then probably the most important group. How many of you are here for your first time attending an Enlisted Association conference? Please stand and be recognized. Sit down, Greg. All right. Thank you very much for being here. We're very excited that you're here with us today. Madam Secretary, would you please do a roll call of areas?
All right. Joint Force Headquarters.
If you're from that area and you're here, holler. We need to know somebody from that area is here.
Go here.
235th Regiment.
Here.
69th Troop Command.
Here.
1st Battalion, 108th Aviation.
They're deployed.
Strike one.
891st Engineer Battalion.
Who?
169th CSB. R&R Battalion.
Speak.
2nd Battalion, 137. Yeah.
They're just coming off.
Okay. 35th Infantry Division.
Santa Fe.
635th RSG.
We'll cover down twice. That's okay.
1st Battalion, 161st FA.
Whoa.
997th BSB. I'll cover that. 130th FAB.
Whoa.
2nd Battalion, 130th FA.
Hang loud.
184th Air Refueling Wing. And 190th Air Refueling Wing.
Whoa.
That's an intelligence.
Yeah.
Alright. Alright.
Retirees.
Oh,
Retirees.
we're done.
That's my fault. I didn't include on the list for it. Overlook that.
Alright, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum, and how about a round of applause for our secretary getting through the Army battalions as a blue, right? That's pretty good. Better than I would have done. Okay, so before I give my welcome message, I would like to invite Judith Putnam and Floyd Parks to come up. They have got their own meeting to convene, so I'd like to have them come up and say a few words about the auxiliary so they can get to their business at hand.
I'm Floyd Parks. I'm your state auxiliary president. This is Judith Putnam, our own from here in the state. She's our Area 4 at the national level, director. Obviously, we're in the same boat as you guys are. We want more members so we can support our troops. If you have a spouse and they're not a member of the auxiliary, you need to send them our way. We do have a few things that we're trying to work on this year to get the Army more involved with some of our stuff that we've been doing on the blue side for our spouses. So we look forward to working with some of the local people in Wichita and some of them in Topeka, and maybe getting some actual family entertainment going. So please send your spouses our way. Judith, did you have anything you needed to talk about?
Well, the only thing I want to say is the purpose of the auxiliary is to support the Enlisted Association in all of their activities, and to also support families. And of course, supporting the Enlisted Association means we are supporting the families in the legislative efforts especially. There are several items on the agenda right now that on the legislative side, we have action number 1 and action number 2. One of those is in the active component. Military children are now being recognized in the schools when their parents are deployed, and they are given special counseling and special help if they need it. National Guard children do not get that service. So that is one of the legislative areas that they're working on. And the other one is, slipped my mind, I wasn't prepared to come in here and talk this morning, sorry. But if you download Voter Voice onto your phone, you can get on that, put your all your pertinent information, and every time we have a legislative action, just go in on your Voter Voice, vote. And actually, I am the legislative representative for the auxiliary in the state of Kansas also. Send that information to me at jlputman@hotmail. And Kansas gets credit for it when the legislative reports are sent in to the national office every year. Thank you for taking time to listen to me. I hope you have a great meeting. It's been fun, and we'll see you later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Tri-Care expansion.
Oh, TRICARE expansion is the other one. Sorry, I absolutely couldn't
We
remember.
just looked it up on Voter Voice, by
On
the way.
Voter Voice, it just comes up real fast.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you.
If I can do it, anybody can.
There you go.
That's fact.
Okay, how about a round of applause for our auxiliary? The best way I know to describe the auxiliary, and we talk about this at the regional and national level, is force multiplier. So if they're standing by our side, we're doubled in strength. So we appreciate everything they do.
We don't often talk about the fact that members can be both members of EANGKS and the auxiliary. I think this is a great forum to be bringing that up.
That's a very good point. So last year, Judith was nice enough to show me, I'm sure she had a good reason, how to become a life member of the auxiliary, and got me signed up. And it is also very affordable at this time, the same as our annual membership for EANGKS. So yes, you can be a member of both, and as a matter of fact, that, again, force multiplier, that brings our numbers up. So if you go visit them out at the silent auction table, they will be able to hook you up and let you know how you can become a member of the auxiliary as well as the association. So
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Hey, you put me on the spot for the plug this morning, so I thought it was only fair, Judith. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so once again, welcome. So show me again how many we had attending their first conference today. Just raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. That's awesome. 8 of you here. So that's fantastic. So for you all, and for some of you that haven't done this for a while, what I would like to do is give a brief synopsis of kind of what the association does and what you can expect out of today. So what does the association do? Our bylaws define what we do and how we do it. And according to our bylaws, our objective is to promote and maintain adequate national security and to promote and advance the status, welfare, and professionalism of the enlisted members of the National Guard of Kansas. That's a pretty noble cause. So how do we do this? We do this by providing insight to lawmakers at the state and national levels on issues involving the Kansas National Guard. So basically, all of the funds that we raise, everything, the foundation of what we do is we go sit face to face with state lawmakers and national lawmakers, and we explain to them what their votes mean to the Kansas National Guardsmen, both active, retiree, and everybody's families. Because it's, unfortunately, they're there to protect their constituents, and the biggest thing that sticks in everybody's mind is, where are you spending my money? So what they're looking at is dollars and cents. What they don't see is state tuition assistance as a perfect example. At first, all they saw was numbers on a ledger line. But when we go in and explain to them just how big of a boon that is for our recruiting process and how desperately we need that guard-wide across the state and across the nation, and to be competitive with our neighboring states that have that, then they get it. They understand. They're like, we explain to them that if you want to have a fully ready force of Kansas Guardsmen to show up at your doorstep when a tornado has leveled it, to help pull your folks and your family and your neighbors out, you need to support these types of things that help us bring Guardsmen in. And when it's explained in that manner, they get it. But if nobody's talking to them and explaining how their votes are affecting us, then they are just going to vote the dollars and cents and what they think everybody wants. So without any conversation, they don't know. Now, we technically can't lobby, but what we offer is we offer our knowledge of how these votes are going to affect the military members in the state of Kansas. And we flat tell them when they go in there, say, look, if you've got a question about how this vote's going to affect your Guardsmen in Kansas, give us a call, because we've probably already done the legwork. We probably already know what you need to know, and we will give it to you. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what we do and why we're here. So what should you expect from today? You're going to be hearing annual reports from some of the officers. Some of them have been are in written form. All of our reports that were turned in time to be printed out are on the table in the back. You'll hear some of our committee reports. You will hear a nomination and election of officers, nomination and election of 2 national conference delegates, which I'll explain more about that in a little bit. A report from Area 4 and the EANGKS National Office. And hopefully you'll walk away with answers to a lot of your questions. And please, at any time, if you've got questions, raise your hand and ask them, because this is the time we want to get this out there. We want you to be able to be armed with all of this and take it back to your units. So how do we fit into the big picture? The EANGKS, the Association of the United States, is the national level office. It's divided into 7 areas. We are in Area 4, so you have Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. That is our area. That is who makes up our area. And then we have the individual states themselves. So that's the makeup. So we have our conference. We'll take what information we have here. We give it to Area 4. They channel that information up, and then we'll have the national conference in August, which we'll talk more about later as well. So when we go to the national conference, today when we vote on issues, this entire room, everybody that's a member in here gets a vote. But when we go to the national conference, obviously you can't have tens of thousands of people in there voting. So basically what happens is each state gets delegates based on their membership. Every state gets a delegate for their president, and then every state gets 1 delegate for every 200 members they have in their association. The last check I made, we were at about roughly 830 to 840 members. For real time, since Greg has that pulled up here, we're at 846. So right now we get our president and 4 delegates. So what we will do today, the body will nominate and vote for 2 members to attend national conference, and then the executive committee, we will elect 2 that we think should go to the national conference to be paid for by the association.
Also pick 2 alternates.
Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you. And we will also have 2 alternates set up for that as well, in case any of the 4 have to, life happens and they have to back out. So any questions on how the structure works? So this is all to give you a baseline knowledge of why we're here today. So I would like to leave you with 5 challenges for today. Number 1, try and walk away with a better understanding of the Enlisted Association of Kansas, Area 4, and the United States and how they work together. The second would be to take that understanding back to your unit and share it with others. We need help, and we need membership. Listen for opportunities to get involved. That is if you have time. If you would like to be a committee member, a committee chair, or be considered for one of the nominated positions today, please step up, let us know, or you know somebody that you think would like to do it, give them a call, and if they agree, let's put their name in the hat and we'll get them on board. If you don't have the time to do it, that's okay. We are willing to take whatever you can give us. Just you being here today shows your dedication to the association. We need dues-paying members just as badly as we need officers and we need committees. But if you do have that time, I know for me, it wasn't up until about 3 or 4 years ago I was able to get involved. I had a daughter who was playing multiple sports. I was chasing her. It was my time to be the dad that ran everywhere. Now that she's older and got a car, she could care less if dad's around unless she needs money. So that's kind of freed up some time for me to be able to give to the association like I would like to. And so that's kind of how I got into the arena. So my point being, if you don't have the time, that's okay. Just be a dues-paying member. But if you're interested and you have the time and you can produce what we need out of you for the position you're interested in, we'd love to have you. Fourth challenge, follow up and learn more online. Visit EANGKS, EANGKS.org and EANGUS.org for the state and national associations. There's a plethora of information. I learned that from the movie Three Amigos, by the way. It's a big word for me. Jim, don't be shaking your head. I know you've seen it. But please get online. There's a great abundance of information of how the associations work, but not only that, what they're doing legislatively. You've got, our association, our national association, has 2 paid lobbyists working in D.C., Daniel Elkins and Scott Bowsam, who do a fantastic job, and I'm not going to steal Gene's thunder because he'll talk about them in a little while over the legislative committee report. But they're rock stars on the Hill. They are up there fighting every day, and they're getting it done. And Gene's going to talk about what they've accomplished here recently and what they're going to be doing for us in the future. And then lastly, and most importantly, my 5th challenge is please make sure we have your correct email address, phone number, and information on file. That is so important because we want to push this information out, but if we're pushing it out to email addresses that are no good, then we're just pushing it out empty and we're not getting it where it needs to be. So go back and encourage your folks in your units to go into their sign-in and make sure all of their information is correct so that we can push the information of the association out to them. So just one more time, thank you all for being here. I know there's a lot of places you could be on a beautiful spring Saturday today, but choosing to be here shows your dedication for the association, and I want to personally thank you for that. So I would now like to invite our Command Senior Enlist Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Maurice Williams, up for a few words before we start with the rest of our session.
Chief, I'm just going to stand right here just quickly. Hey, thanks everyone for coming out to attend the council. Thanks for identifying to the newcomers on what the objective is and everything for the council. Because you take some of the newcomers, those are the next generation. I asked 3 of the soldiers, the ones that won awards this morning, they hadn't heard anything about it. So we got some challenges there. So it's all in the communication. One thing I recommend is talking with those individuals and say, hey, how can we communicate better with you that you can get the understanding of the organization and get out there and talk with them. You know, we got prime prospects in here, and if you notice, all want to stand up the youngest, to include my exec there, Staff Sergeant Milnes, and the other 3 soldiers that we have. It's a great opportunity. We got a great opportunity to capture those individuals and get them involved. Because during this day and time, you know, today, on average, based on statistics, 10,000 baby boomers retire each day. 10,000. By 2020, 50% of the workforce is going to be millennials. That's what we have. Not that it's bad, it's great, because we got a different way of thinking, a different way of viewing things. So it's great that we have, but we got to capitalize because we're becoming, Generation X and baby boomers is becoming the minority. They're swarming to be the majority. So we got to embrace that majority and get them in here to continue to work. But hey, once again, thanks for coming. Look to see you at the national level for conference later on in South
Yes, sir.
August.
We'll do
So look to see you up there. Hey, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Chief. We really appreciate you being here. Also Sergeant Major Whitley and Chief Stacy. Really means a lot to have the senior leaders of the state here leading from the front and letting the soldiers and airmen know how important what we do is. So thank you all for being here very much. So I'm going to flip my agenda around just a little bit. What I would like to do now is I would like to have Executive Director Gilroy come up and help me out with, or if you want to do it in place, Greg, that's fine. What we want to do right now is put out the officer positions that are going to be up for nomination so that everybody has a chance to hear what that entails, give some thought to it. We're going to have a lunch break, which is going to be right in here from about noon to 1:30. We'll return back here at 1:30 where we're going to have to do our elections this afternoon, but we want to give everybody ample time to think about if they want to put their name in for a position, if they know of somebody they would like to nominate and want to give them a ring. But we're trying to extend our window of opportunity here to get some nominations put in for these positions. So, Greg, I'll let you have it.
The way we run elections for the bylaws is by nomination committee. Back on the back table is nomination forms. And you'll get the report, but we automatically have progression. But for the treasurer and the secretary is a 2-year term. We'll be electing both of those positions today, and we need nominations for those. We need a nomination for the second vice. The second vice moves to first vice, so we need nomination for the second vice. I received one by email this morning while we were in the first session, so we have a second vice. We do have a nomination for second vice that I'll report on during my thing. The term for the secretary and treasurer is for 2 years. The other side of and then I will accept the forms. I hope we have the election pretty much right after lunch. I think I forgot mine. Anyway, I would like to have the nominations during or by the end of the lunch period. I'm pretty easily identifiable, so just capture me and I'll help you any way that I can.
Greg, do you have the nomination forms in the back?
The nomination forms are on the back. They're also the back page of this reports binder. So you got them 2 ways. So I made it the back page so you can tear it off without destroying the whole packet. It's a 2-page form. And basically, it's just a record of the individual for our files. The other elections that need to take place, if you go to, in the reports package, if you go to, now I'm not finding it. We need area chairs for the executive board. The organization of EANGKS is, we have the elected officers and the actual board of directors of the corporation is area chairman from each, basically battalion and wing size groups. So we need people to serve on that board. This again is a 2-year commitment. Of course, if they don't make 2 years, we just elect another one. The bylaws read that half of them would term out 1 year, and then the next would term out the next year. So we're a constant turnover, but you always got a base there of at least half of them are there. However, we're short, way short, area chairs. Troy brought up about the personal profile, being assigned to the right unit. What your rank is, what your email is all a function of the profile. So those area chairs can help during your unit drills to sit down with the folks and get their profiles set up. and they are your representative to the board to decide what we do, like at the conferences, what our legislative priorities are, is from the members through your area chair to the board, giving direction to the committees and the officers which direction this thing goes. So, is there any questions? No, wait a minute. The area chairs are elected by you guys. Yeah, in reality, sometimes it's more or less an appointment by the CSM, but per bylaws, it's elected by the caucus of the area here to elect somebody to be that. And it's great if it's a mid-level grade NCO that has the time to talk to folks at drill. You senior leaders are pretty busy with your stuff. So it'd be good to get somebody that's kind of a right-hand person for the point of contact for the association to the membership to get what they need us to do to the board, to the officers, so we can do it. And then that, again, is by nomination form, per record who it is, and we'll recognize that during the nominations report committee. Again, if you can give me that information by lunch, then we can do it. Is that what you wanted? Or
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think we're good. Other than I want to expound on the area chairs for just a second. So, Greg stated everything by the bylaws for area chairs that we were supposed to have. Since I'm going to get fired in about 4 or 5 hours anyway, I'm going to say, okay, we can circumvent the bylaws a little bit here. We need somebody from every area, a point of contact, whether you're serving for 2 years or you're serving for 6. We just need somebody as a point of contact we can put down as an area chair so that we can disseminate information out and you can get information back to us about what your unit wants and what it needs and what the association can do for it. That area rep is the person that brings your unit's input to the executive committee. When we meet, they can be present either by phone or be present physically and counted in as a vote. So if you don't have an area chair present at one of those council meetings, the decisions that we make are the decisions that we make based on who's there and what representation we have. So it's vitally important. All of the areas that our secretary listed out for roll call this morning are all the areas that all the places that we need chairs for. If that doesn't happen today, that's okay. We'd love to have the names as soon as we can. But please work on that. That has been one of our biggest struggles historically since I've been involved, is getting area chairs. And I understand on the Army side, I feel for y'all because you are so geographically separated. It is a tremendous challenge. For the wings, we gather up 1,000 of us and 1,500 of us on a monthly basis. So we can get that message out to the masses pretty easily. The Army side is where it's a challenge. So that's where we need your help, especially a sergeant's major, just to make sure that you cover down for us. Just get us one point of contact, get their name to us, some contact information, so that we have somebody we can ensure that we're getting your voice heard for all of your units, not just the ones that have area chairs that are stepping up. So that's what I would like to say to kind of caveat that. So that'll actually take a section off of my speaking later, because I was going to plead for that later on. Any questions about the positions up for election today? Terms, the officer elections, those are a little bit more hard and fast. We have to follow the bylaws on that because they're running the association. We got to make sure that we're doing that correctly. But the area chairs, it's basically we really need a point of contact is what we're asking for. So any questions over nominations?
Somebody does not have to nominate you. You can nominate yourself by the form.
That is true. Thank
If
you.
you feel you want to run for an office.
That's how Max got president twice. He had to nominate himself twice.
Somehow I doubt that.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. That's definitely not the case. We were glad to have him both times. Okay, so hearing no questions, just please make sure that you get the nomination information to our Executive Director, Greg Gilroy, before we meet back up after lunch so that we can compile that and we'll run the elections after lunch. I now want to call upon our Treasurer / Finance Committee Chair / past President, Max Miller, for a Treasurer / Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President.
My pleasure.
as far as the past president's report, I want to say that our president and first vice did such a great job this last year. I didn't have to do anything on the past president's side, so there's no report. As far as the treasurer's report, the reason I am up here is our treasurer became overcome by events, OBE, yeah. And basically resigned, and as the finance chair, I just stepped over and took over because conference was coming up. So hopefully we'll elect a new treasurer, and I can just go back to being the finance chair and a member and let these young people run the organization as it should be run by younger people than us old retirees. So on your finance report in the packet, it's front and back. We start on the top with the income, and while we're on income, I would like to recognize a couple of people. Sergeant Major Jim Fenton and Sergeant Major Dale Putman. Thank you guys very much. Every time we need something and we can make it tax deductible for them, their businesses come through and donate for us. So if we have other people out there that want to take advantage of tax deductions, you know, every year we have a golf tournament, and so Second Vice Boyce ran the golf tournament for us this year, raised $1,200 in that area. We haven't ironed out everything, but the golf tournament made about $1,200 this year. So in reviewing the finances right quick, you can see where we spent, or where we brought money in, and we had some expenses we were counting on that did not happen, but those have happened now, so it's not as bleak as it looks, but it is still, and then at the bottom is our expenses, and our expenses last year were a little higher than usual, but that is because we were trying to get young people more involved and young people educated. We sent, where we normally send 2 people to DC to do the legislative workshop and the president's workshop, we sent 6 last year. So, you know, just to get more people involved and give them the national level knowledge that we need to be officers of this association and make this association work the way it should. So we don't expect those expenses to stay that high. We expect to drop back down to the normal level. And then if you look on the backside, we about balanced out. We was $100 short, basically $96 short. But let me go back. So if you look at line item 2004, that's cash carryover. In other words, that's what we took out of savings to make us where we're at. And for those of you that don't have packets, that's $6,350. So this is a membership organization. So where we have to get money is from membership. That's our best way, whether that be corporate or whether that be members. But that's how we've made our money in the past, and that's how we need to make our money. It's a membership-based organization, so membership needs to happen in order for us to keep going the way we are. We can't continue to dip into the reserve and the reserve last. It just doesn't work that way. Works much better if we can put money into the reserve so the future of the organization can continue to work. So with that, Mr. President, I believe that concludes my report. Any questions on finance?
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Next up, that would be our executive director for his report and also his report on bylaws.
My report is also in the packet. Right off the bat, it's kind of an add-on to what Max was talking about. Our membership, this is our second year in a row we've declined in overall membership. The decline is not that much, but it is going the wrong direction. Most of my the annuals fall off. What do you mean?
So just to expand on that, there's fluctuation for membership, and the reasons why you have life memberships and you have annual memberships. So, if you don't go in and renew or pay for your membership online, there's no auto renewal system in place. So we always see fluctuation, just like recruiting sees fluctuation in numbers. We're trending down a little bit, but again, it could be just due to the fact that you're busy. We all know that. We all get busy and we lose sight of those renewals and just wanting to stay involved. So if you would, just please make it a point to auto renew and or continue your annual memberships. We do greatly appreciate that. So I just wanted to.
Okay, I got what the question was. Okay, we're an online base. I mean, you're a member. You may be a life member, so you forgot how it works. But the membership is online. Unless you contact me, we can do a manual if that's the preference of the person. And I just go in the back door and do it that way. But it's by credit card. Credit cards expire. If you don't keep up with the profile of your membership and keep your current credit card information out there, it won't renew. If you don't keep your email current, you will cease to get email notices from you. Everybody in here that's a member should have received several notices about the scholarship program and the annual conference. If you did not, raise your hand if you did not. Okay, your email is incorrect in the system. So that's the type of thing we need to correct. And what I find is, like when we was working hard on scholarships, then we find that people's lost track of their login ID. And so I deal with a lot of getting people's login ID back. There is a lost password thing to use, but if I go in the backside, I find a lot of, particularly AirGuard, I still have your old ANF or whatever it was email in there. So if they've got their old AF email in there and didn't ever update it, it drops off. Because our system, if you get several rejects or no show on an email, then it cleans you off of the email list automatically. So like I was talking to Gene, which is our area chair 190, we need to, that's again why we need area chairs and unit reps to sit down, for instance, at lunchtime when you're going through the lunch line with a laptop and catch people and update your information right then. Or we could set up some kind of event after a drill or sometime, but it's just key that we have that information correct in there. Yeah, the rest of my report, of course, I deal a little bit in conjunction with the publications chair on the stuff that we do. We have the ability to send out what we call the Prairie Patriot Update. The nickname is Prairie Dog Update. And it's an email newsletter, but it is based upon input from the committee chairs and other people that say this would be good to get it out to the membership. Having none of that, then we don't send out it very often. The website, Troy mentioned both the websites, the EANGKS and the EANGKS and EANGKS websites. It would be good to use the procedure to sign in and get, that way you get automatic updates. When we put something on the email or on the website, you will automatically get a notice from that. You don't have to get a separate email. If it gets posted on that site, if you're a member of that site, then it goes to that email that you have given us to log in. And when I'm talking about emails, it is highly recommended, and you should use a civilian email. Use your military or your .mil email as the secondary on your profile. Use a civilian email on your primary. EANGKS, the National, sends out publications, the New Patriot, and Minuteman Update. They're pretty handy. The one thing that we did do this year, we dropped the post office box. There's a lot of information printed and otherwise out there that still show that post office box. Our address is now the same as the Kansas National Guard Museum. And we do have an office out there. If you need to drop off, if you're in Topeka and want to drop off something, that's the place to drop it off. But you also need to use the museum address, which I've had in the thing. It's 126 Southeast Airport Drive in Topeka. 125. Okay, I'm incorrect. I always hit that. My 5 doesn't work very good. Yeah, you'd probably still get there if you use 126. Last year we did a rewrite of the bylaws. This is my annual report for 2018 on the bylaws. It's in effect, and this year so far we have not received any requests for amendments. The bylaws is available online on the forms page of our EANGKS site if you want to try to look that up. Is there anything else you want on bylaws from me that particularly? Okay, so the rest of my report is basically what conferences I've attended as your representative or as part of the group that went. And my final thought down there was, again, a plea for getting back to the point to where we have area chairs, which is, like I said before, a battalion level, a wing level, and then we need unit representatives at the unit level. So especially that would be helpful in the Army side where you have one person that comes or calls into the quarterly meetings that the board has as a board member. And then he has 5 or 6 people that are unit representatives for the Air Guard, like squadron or flights, whatever. However the 184th, 190th is best to set up. The 184th a couple of years ago set up a pretty good system out there, and I get a lot of memberships come in. You can almost tell from my emails when they're drilling because they're producing out there. That system is working pretty good, and the 190th may want to network with them on some ideas and steal some ideas from them to make it work. And as Troy said, with the Army side, we cover a lot of ground in no time to do it. So we need people that are good representatives out there that's a benefit to the member, that can get the information of what we're trying to do for them, and at the same time is give us feedback of what they need. What can we do for them through the unit rep, up through the area chair, and into the executive board, so we can do a better job of doing what's best for the member. That's mine. I'm here to help you guys anything that you need. If you need some assistance working with the website, come December, we need to get the goals page that I had up there earlier is we need to adjust it's good to annually, and we usually try to do it in December, is annually get the enlisted strength of the units, and that's what goes as the goal for your units, and then the system will automatically take who your members are against that goal. And we initially started off with the enlisted assigned strength of all the units, and then we took 25% of that, and that was the goal. And for some units, that's never been changed. So, and of course, the force structure has changed. If I've missed, getting a unit aligned and underneath the right one, then that's my task to get it in the right way. But I need help. I need a second set of eyes. If something's wrong, let me know. I don't take anything personal. Let me know that what works best for you so you can track this. The system is designed for you as the senior leaderships in charge of your units to see where you're at on membership, how well the information is getting to you, down to your soldiers and airmen, to help you help them. That concludes my report.
I'd just like to ask everybody to give Greg a round of applause. He does a lot of hard work. He says so next, officer report up. One bylaw change we did make last year that was a major change to the association is we went from having a president, a past president, and a vice president to a president, past president, first vice, and second vice. We basically mirror what the Officers Association does, and those are one-year terms now. It basically takes your 6-year commitment and brings them down to a 4-year commitment. That was to try and get some more folks that might be involved that wouldn't be intimidated by having to commit to something for 6 years. And by the way, doing second, first vice, there's not a whole lot there other than you're sitting and waiting and you are learning about the association so that you're able to take over and run the association. So recently we had a change of second vice. Our previous second vice, again, overcome by events. Just had a lot of stuff on his plate, wasn't able to attend, and you know what? That's okay. We're glad to have him as a member. But with that, we temporarily, actually not temporarily, we permanently voted Kim Boyce in as our second vice. We did that through the Executive Council. So I just wanted to make everybody aware why he is sitting here and not the face that some of you may have been expecting to sit in this seat. So Ken is now serving as our second vice, and if confirmed, we'll continue to move up and sit in that chair, and then eventually this one. So next up is our first vice, Chris Hargis, for his report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. So first off, I just want to say it's excellent to see some familiar faces, especially if I haven't seen you around in quite some time. So it's great seeing you guys, and it's awesome seeing some new faces. So with that said, Mr. President, my report reads as follows. This past year was an active year for the Enlisted Association in Kansas, and it excites me to see where we head in our future. Members of the EANGKS attended multiple events in the state and the national levels. Our current membership is, as we stated before, 846 with a current goal set at 1,500. Members and officers attended the Area 4 Midwinter Conference in Springfield, Missouri. That was a very nice event. It was small, it was quaint, but it was our Area 4 got together, right? And Kansas came in and represented Kansas. We provide input to this area, right, who congregates the information, which eventually funnels to the national office. So again, it's communication from every area, and that communication gets funneled up to the national offices, hopefully with your insight. The national conference was also an event we attended, and that was in West by God, Virginia. The president and the legislative workshop was in Washington, D.C. We also had representation. Also, EANGKS was able to capitalize on 2 separate occasions in receiving a total of $5,000 in donations from our national office. So again, I'm going to say that again. We got free money brought in from Kansas to give away, and that went to veterans in need. So that money is It didn't cost us effort. It didn't take nothing. We made a phone call to a guy in our national office. So that's the kind of differences we can make. These donations were dispersed to the VA hospital in Topeka and will be distributed to the Veterans of Foreign Wars in Topeka, Kansas as well, with the intent of giving back to other veterans groups. Again, we're trying to focus in on veterans in need. That could be retirees, that could be currently serving, that could be displaced, homeless people out on the streets. So again, if you wonder what the association does, I mean, we look for creative ideas to give back. Think of it that way. Mr. President, continuing on, EANGKS co-sponsored meals for the Army Best Warrior and NCO competition, feeding competitors in Salina, Kansas. EANGKS representation attended the TAG APFT competition. We were also represented during the Joint Enlisted Symposium, also hosted in Salina, Kansas. The list goes on. I'm not going to continue, but we really try to capitalize and be in attendance and just kind of a voice and being present out there for you guys. The future of EANGKS looks bright, but there is always a need to attract new membership and new corporate partners. EANGKS remains a resource for legislators and as a resource to its membership. Annually, scholarship opportunities remain available to current members and dependents of members. Camaraderie, professional development, and lasting friendships remain soft benefits that the association offers in membership. The association continues to give a voice as we strive to improve benefits. Thank you for everyone's continued support and help us to drive membership to meet our goal of 1,500 strong.
Thank you, Mr. Vice. First Vice.
Okay, next up is the President's report. I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of what I submitted in my written report. The enthusiastic nucleus of officers that we have on the Executive Council now are working hard to make this association more effective than ever before. And we need more people who want to get involved and make a difference. So through nominations today, or if you're interested in sitting on a committee, reach out to one of us. We really would like to find some folks that are excited, energized, and have the time to be active members. One thing that I didn't include in my report, and I don't remember if Greg mentioned it in the nominations or not, the Enlisted Association has 2 seats on the Kansas National Guard Foundation. That's a great foundation that works here in Kansas to support. They do scholarships, and they also do support to any soldiers and airmen that are in need. I believe it's up to $500 per request that they can receive from the foundation. If they're going through a hard time and they apply, $500 may not get them completely out of their hole, but it might be enough to take just enough stress off of them to get them through one more day, which is at a lot of times that's just enough to be that difference. So that is not an elected position. It's not a very large commitment. They meet quarterly. I believe they meet in Topeka, so that might affect who wants to put their name in the hat for that. Fantastic opportunity, great group of individuals. Chief Retired Howard Stinson was the one that was working in that capacity for us. He has stepped down. Chief Jeff Appenfeller, I guess I can say retired now as of last month, is serving in our other seat. So if you're interested in that, contact myself or Chris, and we'll get your name written down and love to have you involved with that. I was fortunate enough to be at the Military Relations Council lunch in Topeka on Tuesday, and Chief Appenfeller actually got to speak on behalf of the Kansas National Guard Foundation with a lot of the local businesses from the Topeka area and some of us from the military that were there to talk about the great things they're doing. So if you're interested in that opportunity, please get with me and let me know. It really is a great foundation. Our current legislative committee chair is Mr. Steve Payton. You might have seen him in the New Patriot last year talking about his legislative conference experience back in February of 2018. Steve wasn't able to be with us today because he is a new dad as of this last week, so he thought that might be a little more important to stick around for. At least keep Chelsea from kicking him right in the backside. 100% tuition assistance for Kansas Guardsmen. I can't say enough about how fantastic that was. I had the opportunity to go in front of the Kansas House Veterans Affairs Committee and thank them and just be able to give them some tangible numbers that showed how that created a boon in recruiting for us. And as you heard the Lieutenant Governor say in the other room, they heard it and they're supporting it. But we're going to continue to beat that drum until that funding for that state tuition assistance is solid and set in stone. But I am extremely proud that that happened while I was a part of this association. I think that is absolutely huge and puts us on a level playing field with our neighbors. Let's see. So for those who don't know, at the national conference last year, I was elected as the Area 4 Director at Large. There's 3 directors, an Army Director, an Air Director, and a Director at Large, which can be either Army or Air. The Director at Large was voted in last year, and this year will be the Air and Army voted in. We do that so there's continuity on the Area 4 board. So with that, we also annually elect an Area 4 chair. So I guess I was not smart enough not to put my hand up, or everybody said, hey, let the new guy do it. Yeah, so I am also the Area 4 chair. And I can tell you it's been a fantastic experience. I've gotten to go sit at the Missouri, 2 weeks ago I was at the Missouri conference, and 2 weeks before that I was at the Texas conference, and I've learned a lot about how other associations run their conferences, how they do business, and both of those associations are joint associations, so officer enlisted are together. And in both of those associations, when you sign up for a membership for the state, that doesn't automatically mean you get a national membership. And let me tell you, they are not nearly as engaged as we are on the national level because of it. So I learned a lot of stuff. I know there's been some talk, I've had some conversations with some folks about, hey, would we ever consider becoming a joint association? And that's a discussion for another time. I don't want to have it in here. Not in an official capacity, but I'll say in a Troy capacity, the hesitation I have with that is the leadership that we have in the Officers Association right now. I wouldn't hesitate in a heartbeat to do it with them because I know they have our back. But it's that one bad apple that gets in there that would kick us off to the side, and we would not have the level of respect that we have by running our own association, and our voice might be stifled. And it would take years to get that back. So that's my hesitation in pushing forward with that. And that's something we can discuss at a later time. I know we could beat that one for a long time in here, but my personal opinion is we are better off with 2 strong state associations going to Capitol Hill at the state level and the national level in lockstep and sending that message. And I don't think we gain anything by joining together. So I think the state as a whole, both enlisted and officer, stands to be more strong and have a stronger voice, which is what we're here for with our legislators by maintaining 2 associations. So those are just my 2 cents on that. I'm going to expand a little bit later on what's going on at the Area 4 level and the national level later on in the agenda. I think I've already covered the fact that we've changed the bylaws to one-year terms for our presidents. And I just want to close my report by saying that I am very proud of the work we've done during my tenure as your president. This is an outstanding group of individuals to work with. I've had people call and say, hey, what do you need? Can I step up? Today, yesterday, people walking up to me, both retirees and active, that have just said, hey, what can I do? How can I help? I love being around groups of people like this. People are here because they want to be here. I've told my wife this the other day, and I've told several folks. These are so great because people are here because they want to be here. They want to help, and everybody's in a good mood. Yeah, the social rooms are great. We have a good time, but even the business sessions are fantastic because everybody wants to be involved, and it's just awesome to be a part of something like that. So I'm looking forward to see where our lineage of presidents takes us in the future. And I definitely plan to continue to be fully engaged, hopefully helping with some committee work, getting my feet back into the legislative arena. But that concludes my report. And let's see, next up, we're going to move into, do we need a break? Need a break out there? Okay, well, Dale says yep. All right, so we'll go into, let's do a, could we do a 10-minute recess? And then we'll get back in, we'll do our committee reports, and then shortly after that, we'll be breaking for lunch. Oh, wait, Guys, we need to leave those open. They're going to be bringing the table and our lunches in. Thank you. All right, I think we got the majority of folks back. We're going to go ahead and get started. If I could have Lynn Holt come up for a quick scholarship committee report, please.
Good morning. On behalf of the Scholarship Committee, I'd like to thank everybody for getting the word out. We've got right now, the deadline doesn't close till 1 May. The president and the board came to the committee and said we need to make things solid this year because moving dates are hard to hit when you're a kid. You need to know what date do I need to have it in by. And we modified a little bit of the application because we didn't feel that they needed 4 letters of recommendation from people for the size of the scholarship we're giving. We're not giving them a 4-year free ride. So with that, we've got about 4 or 5 in right now, and I was able to contact 3 panel members. The first one is Doctor of Education and has taught and then was a Peak High administrator for years. The other one is a retired guardsman who has a Master's of Education. You all know him. His name's Rod Moyer. And then I needed somebody that was really good with admin, so Sergeant Major Lawrence Hall, and those 2 are still members of our association. They're a panel of scholarship judges. So when we get that done, the association has given me the direction of which way we want to go with the scholarship as far as how the money is to be diverted. And we're going to give 1 scholarship for $1,000 this year. So the top scorer will get the scholarship. I'd like to see if there's any way possible that we could give more scholarships, but to do that we have to have more money. We're fortunate for USAA to give us the $1,000, but there's other scholarships available, and if you don't know about them, they've been pushing them out. Greg's been pushing them out. National's been pushing them out. If you're a member of auxiliary, they have a $1,000 scholarship, and however they decide they want to break theirs up, we won't know that till later today when they have their meeting. So, anybody got any questions about the scholarship committee? Because I'm not going to read this report. It's in your bylaws or your packet. Yes.
So, quick clarification: dependents also qualify for
auxiliary
for the opportunity to get a scholarship. Is that correct?
For this organization.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you remember, last year we changed the criteria where you take an old guy like me that has grandkids, the grandkid can even apply.
So,
and does.
So my point being is you as a member of the association can put your own name in the hat or a dependent of your...
We actually have this year, we do have 1 person that's an active drilling guardsman.
So if you have children, grandchildren, a wife that wants to get back to school, think about it, bigger picture. It's a good opportunity.
And all the application forms are on the website. They made it really easy. You click one, it's there. You click one, and the auxiliary's there.
Right.
So it's really easy. Anybody else have any questions about the scholarship? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay, next up, I'd like to have Sergeant Major Ricky Maddox come up for a quick report on the awards committee.
Quick.
Your reputation precedes you.
Okay. So I'm Rick Maddox, and we received 5 nominations this year. Hopefully we get the word out a little better next year and get some more nominations. But 5 was an improvement. And then we did something a little different this year where we set up kind of a digital packet and voted digitally with the committee as stated by the SOP. Speaking of SOP, what I'd like to be able to do is make some suggestions and send it out to you guys as a committee. It needs updated, especially if we're going to continue to do what we did electronically, which I think is the way to go, because we were on time this year with nominations and completing the process. So then we what I'd like to be able to do too is, and any of you that have ideas, figure out what type of incentives we can offer with this. And being first year as the chair, I think there's some things that I didn't understand and need to improve, because I know we cover registration costs, I know we cover hotel, we provide a plaque, and all that stuff are things that we just need to make sure everybody understands going into this. I wish there's more we could do. I look at the plaque and I think, that's nice, but I think we need to do better. We need to look at something better next year. I think incentives, what Sergeant Major Whitley has done with Best Warrior competition and the incentives that these young soldiers get now, because for years it was basically just, I'm the one. And now, anytime something comes up that's a cool opportunity, they take advantage of it, like going to France and things like that. And so I'm sure there's some opportunities or things that we could look at doing from an association standpoint to have more. Anytime something comes along, hey, you know what, we got this conference and this is our Air winner or Army winner, and we need to give them, first rights on attending. And then I need to do a better job too. Then once, like after the recognition today, get those on our website, right? So people can go there and see who won, see who that person is for the year, and then we can talk about that in our formations and hopefully bolster nominations. The thing about it is, and I get it, the Guardsmen and for the Army in the Air is. It's not a competition where you're out there doing PT and shooting and all those skills, but it's to recognize those members, sometimes they're new members, right? We've nominated them, so we get them membership. But there's some amazing things soldiers have done out there and continue to do in their community, and that's what this is all about. And so I just need your help in recognizing our soldiers, and it starts with that nomination next year. And I'm assuming we'll keep deadlines the same. That's not an issue. It's usually by your first drill weekend in February that those nominations are due, and then that gives the committee time enough to put that digital packet together, get it out, get it voted on, and then get awards made and have everything ready for this weekend. So that's all I have. I'm sorry that wasn't as quick as probably it should have been, but do you have any questions of me?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much.
So just to clarify for everybody, that we do have the association. This morning was the military awards that were competed for, both on the Army and Air side. So the two awards that we have as an association are the Outstanding Airman of the Year and Outstanding Soldier of the Year via our association, the EANGKS Association. And so those will be awarded this afternoon during the closing session. And the criteria for that is in the SOP, and I do believe we need to get that updated, along with a lot of other SOPs we have out there. But we can't update stuff if we don't have committee chairs that are ready to jump in and get to work on that. And what you'll find, as I'm sure Sergeant Major Maddox did, is once you jump in there, some of the stuff is a little antiquated, but the basics are there. They just need some tweaking, bringing things up to date, especially like, for instance, the digital is a great example. So next up, for what I'm sure will be a not so short, but hopefully relatively short report, the meat and potatoes of what we're here for. Legislative Committee Chair Steve Payton, as I said, is home with the little one. So Eugene Bradley has been very engaged with the committee this year, so we're going to let him take the floor and give us an update.
Morning. I'll try not to stand between us and our sandwiches back there for too long. And if we need to continue this afterwards or throughout lunch and have a discussion, I'm sure we can do that as well. This is my first year stepping in to this arena, and for the first timers that are here, this is, like Troy said, this is the meat and potatoes. This is why we're here, making a difference for the Guardsmen across our state and country. Being able to attend the national conference, I was there as well with the group. Kind of was a big education for me. And that's kind of where our year started. Next. Steve put together these slides for me. So some of our victories this year on the national level, we've gotten this pilot program passed through. We've gotten some more. The education level on the national level is going to be moving forward at a rapid pace. We've got initiatives going through right now that will really make a difference, and part of our resolutions that we put forward as a state on the national level will be making a difference for certifications and credentialing for the Army and the Air, both sides, being able to come together and get credit for our training. What's been talked about a lot at all the conferences and all the workshops that I've attended is that we want parity with not only our active duty brethren, and we want it on the civilian side as well. And that's the whole purpose of this. Next. This is our legislative visit. We were in DC. General Taffanelli was up there the same day we were, shaking hands with the representatives, and we were able to actually meet with all 6 of the Kansas representatives. We were actually, we got picked, right here, Hargis and I were able to meet with Watkins. Watkins actually stepped out of his committee meeting to take time and give us about 15 minutes in the hallway to actually discuss about our priorities that I'll go over with you as well. But we're a known organization up there, and every single one of the representatives that we talk to, or their staffs, know about EANGKS. They know about the Kansas organization specifically and all the great work that we do. Next. Okay, here's what I want to go over some of the things that we did in DC as far as, and this is our State Hill program. At a state level, my main goal over the next year, as long as I would like to be take over as the legislative committee chair from Steve, if that comes to pass. And even if it doesn't, I know we've been working hard on getting the car registration bill fixed. We don't want to get changed isn't the right word. I want it fixed. We really are pushing to make sure that all guardsmen get the benefit that currently only the active guardsmen have of having the free registration or the paid registration for their car tags. Up to 2 vehicles. Currently, I know there are a lot of issues out there with that, updating and making sure that even the process at different counties is different from place to place, and we want to make sure we streamline this and make it so that if you're a guardsman in the state of Kansas and you're serving, that your vehicle's paid for. Sitting down and talking with state representatives, the first question is, well, why should we offer that? Well, we're the ones, we as guardsmen are the ones putting our cars on the line during thunderstorms and during severe weather, during the winter storms, putting our private vehicles on the line to get into work to help the rest of the state. And that's what we lead with. I've met with the county association for the state of Kansas and talking with them. Their first question is, of course, well, how's that going to affect our rural counties? You heard the Lieutenant Governor talk today. The prosperity of our rural counties is a high priority. And what we're able to say is that we have an armory in every single county of the state. And so we have members across the state that would reap this benefit, and we'd actually be able, you would see a difference, and it's not going to hurt. Their concern is that it's not going to hurt one county, one rural area more than another. And so by us being able to take them the numbers and say, look, it's going to help you out more than it's going to hurt you, is really going to help our case. Once we get them on board, they're the ones that would actually be wanting to keep that money. Once we get them on board with this, I don't see any issues moving forward. As it is with any legislative initiative, this isn't something that can happen overnight. This is something that's going to take a lot of work, and we'll take our members going to raiding the Hill again and going up there and talking to our representatives to make sure that we make this a priority next year. If it doesn't happen next year, we'll keep pushing. Next, Greg. This is some more of our state stuff we had in there. When we went to the State Hill this year, we had a small showing, but a very passionate showing. Our main discussion points when we were talking with the state representatives this year was just keeping the benefits that we have. Thanking the representatives for the support they gave us last year with pushing the 100% tuition. Kind of, Les Troy said, we showed them, hey, we're at 100% manning for 190th now, and that's kind of, we always kind of lean on that and say thank you, and we want to make sure we keep that benefit. We didn't really ask for too much more, and obviously knowing the political climate when you go and talk to these representatives is important. And so you kind of take what you get this year, and then next year we'll be, like I said, we'll be looking for a little bit more. Okay. All right, and this is our, on the national side. Greg, if you want to exit out of that, we can pull up some of the talking points for these through the EANGKS site. Currently, on the federal level, the big push is TRICARE. And we were talking about equity for the active duty and the Guard. And this is something that we're really pushing. This is something that was supposed to happen last year and was cut out at the very last minute from a bill. And what they're looking for is to get TRICARE for all federal technicians as well as active duty Guard. They want that benefit. And the next step after that is, and what we've heard at multiple conferences and from the DoD leaders, is they want TRICARE for all members. They want traditional Guardsmen to have TRICARE. The idea that we are no longer a strategic force and we are out there and we have to maintain our readiness, and we're currently the highest readiness that we've ever been. The best way to maintain that readiness is through healthcare and making sure that our members aren't having to worry about their healthcare when they're in and out of duty. Providing that TRICARE, that active duty level TRICARE at all times is something that they really want to see. That is a tool that they want to have to be able to, at least, again, aid in recruiting and maintain mission effectiveness. And then auxiliary was already kind of talked about this. Military connected students will be recognized. We've got the children that are going to be recognized in the schools as well. Current law, if I could talk today, current law directs military students to identify only towards children of active duty families and leaves out nearly 1.5 million children of the reserve component. We've worked to change that. So you can see kind of your dollars at work here when you become members of EANGKS, and when you're out there and meeting these representatives, it does make a difference, and we are getting things done. Next.
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Wait for
There
it.
it is.
So
Let's go into my AAR, Greg.
our main what I want to see as we move forward, I want to garner more ideas. We've got a great committee that's done a lot of good work over the last few years. I just hope to be able to carry on what Steve has really put together. What I want to see is I want to get more ideas for resolutions, and where we're going to get that is from our body, from our membership body. That's where we're going to figure out what issues we need to correct and where our priorities need to be. Just like when we take resolutions to the national conference and we push forward the things that we want to see. The credentialing thing that we pushed forward last year, we've already seen major work. For those in the Air Force side, you know about the Air Force School program already. That's going to be expanding, and that's going to be something that we're going to see in the Army, Navy, all the major DoD branches are going to be getting that cool program to be able to receive civilian certifications based off of military training. So just from that resolution alone, our national reps, Daniel Elkins, and the whole national office as a whole is doing a great job. They've got wonderful resources online that you can check out at EANGKS.org to be able to really pull in any information that you ever need to ask. And last slide. This is my contact information, and like I said, I want to continue building on the committee that we currently have. If you're interested in helping out with this, if you're interested in going to these conferences and joining the legislative group, and if you have any issues that you'd like me to look into or talk to anybody about, feel free to contact me, shoot me a text, give me a call, and we can that's how we're going to be able to make sure that we're getting the things done for our members that we want done. This time, are there any questions on the legislative level that we can answer?
I have a comment on your vehicle tax for your MD or your traditional. What about if they won't bite on that, then possibly balance it with if a member is actually activated for an emergency, then the same way Title 10 does it, where you don't pay federal taxes every year, maybe the state could waive the state taxes for those members that actually activated for a state emergency. Now, that will balance that cost benefit that they may be looking at, you know, because you're talking what, 5,000 plus. So, hey, if you're going to use these guys, give them a break.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And that's just if they won't bite on it, you know.
But that's also an additional incentive. There are several states out there that don't pay state taxes on any of their drill pay.
Well, and you think about state tax, normally what, 4, 6, you know, unless you're Commander Anderson. Then it's like, you're talking $20,000. But, you know, so they just won't activate it. Yeah.
Throw them under the bus.
So no, yeah, and that's
just something.
no. I'll definitely we'll use that as a tool because that's an idea we can run with. That brings up something I did want to kind of go over again. One of the other DC, we had 3 items. I've already mentioned the TRICARE. The other item they really want to that is in progress is correcting the DD 214. And I know from the air side, it's not necessarily such a big deal, but from an Army side, with how many deployments you'll roll out, having so many DD-14s is a pain. They're trying to. There's a bill currently on the floor that they're looking to. Again, the goal is to have one DD-214 for any retiree to work off of. Going through and talking with Steve Watkins, that was eye-opening to him. You know, he was shocked, and he was Chris can tell you, he was frustrated that this is an issue that even has to go through Congress.
Could I add to that, Eugene, just for a second? That is very, very important. Right now, a soldier and airman deploys 3 or 4 times. You come off active duty, you get your DD-214. When you take those DD-214s to the VA and say, I'm a veteran in need of my benefits, how do I go about getting started and so forth? It's very confusing to the VA. They don't know how to sometimes credit you for the time spent on active duty if you have multiple DD-214s. We are trying to take the legislation and revise the law so that one DD-214 would be issued for your, basically, I don't know if it's going to be a career. I don't know how that's going to work. Those are some questions that need to be looked into. But yeah, go ahead.
My question is, when you get a DD-214 at the end of a deployment, it should aggregate your prior service.
But as you know, do you have missing items from your previous?
My last deployment, they did a really good job of scrubbing it. But yes, I have seen it on.
You've seen a gap in information loss is what is the point?
You should be able to take the most recent DD-214.
Jared, am I right or wrong?
Yeah, well, I was just told her, I was like, my last one, I got Halo wings on mine, so.
You got jump wings, that's good.
Look at that.
That's some high-speed stuff. But that's the point, it's information loss, and they're recognizing it as the problem. The first key is to identifying the problem. We present some type of an idea to the national level. They're researching it, they're doing their homework. These people are paid to do this. It just takes us to throw out the idea. So again, it was a great conversation. We go straight to our legislators to get them fired up and charged to speak about this. We did that with Steve Watkins. He's a brand new rep. Of course he's fired up. Man, it was easy to charge that guy up. He's a former, Ranger from the Army anyway, right? So we came to him and we caught him right in mid-stride. It was awesome. We had like 5 minutes of his time and that's all it took. So again, it's about energy. It's about introducing these ideas to try to get, to make a difference. So.
And the last item, yes sir.
Well, you guys know me, I'm Greg Cobra, I work for Homeland Security now. I just retired. I got my NGB 22 and just applied for a supervisory job. And I have my 14 that is from 2010. I will tell you that NGB 22, they don't even wipe their ass with it. They're like, what is this? And went on. So, and that's in the federal system as a civilian. So if you could get to that point with a DD-214 for a guard career even, that would be huge. As you said, the VA and the federal jobs, USA jobs, they don't give a shit about that.
And that's the background that we have on the talking point as well, is that we want every VA organization relies on the 214 for benefits. And it's not fair for a guard, especially as we start aging out and retiring a lot of the people that have been active during this entire war effort, is that we're making sure that they're getting the benefits they deserve, whether going and rolling into the next one, whether they're on a specific duty status or not. The last initiative that they had us talking with representatives about was consolidating a lot of the duty statuses to 4. They want 4 duty statuses across the board to cover everything. And the idea is that no matter, that really cuts down on the type of orders that we roll in onto. And it, again, talking about the benefits that we've earned and we deserve for that time served is what we're aiming for. We want the parity with the active duty to make sure that if we're out here serving on state time and doing a state mission, that we get the same benefits as the active duty side that's just working as a foreign force. We want to fund all benefits. The recommendations for this is to reduce the number of Guard and Reserve duty statuses to 4 as recommended by the DoD, and fund all benefits currently not attributed to Guard and Reserve service members deploying under 10 U.S. Code. And that's going to be another one that's it's a layup for a lot of the congressmen, and they're really eager to sign on to something this isn't going to cost them any money. It's not coming out of the budget. And so when we can take things to them like this that simply are an administrative correction, it's a lot easier to garner support. I'll leave you with this. We've got the TRICARE Reserve Improvement Act is going through. We want to talk about Voter Voice. It's an app that we all need to have access to, and we need to get everybody logged into that to have an idea. Stay in touch on the EANGKS.org for their call to actions and their legislative work there. They've got a great podcast to kind of keep us updated on a weekly and monthly status as these bills move through the House and Senate. Right now, the co-sponsors of this bill, this has got a lot of traction, and it seems to be something that's going to work out. Currently, the only co-sponsor from the state of Kansas is Senator Moran, and then on the House side, we have Representatives Watkins and Marshall that are co-sponsors of this bill to make sure it goes through. That being said, if your representative isn't, get on Voter Voice, get that letter out to them, give them a phone call to let them know. Those staffs are there to take phone calls. They took several over there from the people of Kansas, and the best way to reach the representatives is just give them a phone call or send them an email, because they'll work through that. They may not get to you, or they may not necessarily get the response you wanted, but put the pressure on them to co-sign on these bills that we're pushing, and that's how we can be heard as a membership group. Any other questions right now? I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Okay, just a few more items to move through relatively quickly before we break for lunch.
We don't have a membership committee report per se this year, but I do want to make everybody aware of a competition that's going on nationwide right now. This is called Fall in Love with Your Association, and the goal is to add a minimum of 150 or more new members to each state association between February 14th and July 4th. So all states and territories are encouraged to participate in this, and the thing is, it's based on percentage, and so whoever has the highest percentage increase, and that can be through renewals as well, but the highest percentage of increase for their particular membership, first place will go to the association with the most for $5,000, second place $2,500, and third place is $1,000. And as president, what I would envision doing with this, with the council, is you can send a lot of people to national conference, and you can send a lot of people to legislative workshop with $5,000. Not to mention the byproducts of getting a higher membership that's going to benefit us as well. So that right there is a great way to incentivize trying to get some more members. The other thing is the individual person who brings in the most members for the year will garner a $1,000 award. And this is a national competition. So if somebody within Kansas brings in that high number, then they'll receive the $1,000 award. These will all be given at the national conference in Des Moines. One step back to the legislative. The Voter Voice is very simple to download on your phone. It's an easy app to grab. It's free. And what's really cool is you put all of your information in there, And basically, it will know who your representatives and your senators are, and it will actually create a form letter for you for each issue that comes out via EANGKS if you identify EANGKS as your association. The form letter is already there. You just basically just forward the email on to that senator and representative. So your voice is being heard, and it's incredibly easy to use. Highly recommend you guys going and checking that out. The last thing we have, I've got two more things actually, real quick. Delbert Edwards is our Retiree Affairs Committee Chair. His report's submitted. It's in the back for your review. He chose to do paper instead of coming up and blessing you all with his words of wisdom. Very quickly, I want to touch on the insurance program. How many of you have actually used the life insurance program that's offered through the Officers Association and the Enlisted Association? One of the biggest benefits to that, SGLI is fantastic. They provide the large sum, but they move at a turtle's pace. It's horribly slow. And when folks need that money right up front to cover funeral expenses and what have you, they need that money right away. The check for the insurance will arrive within 24 hours. So you're helping that family that needs that help right now to get through the costs of that those funeral arrangements. What do we get from that as an association? We get a certain amount for each member of our association that belongs to the life insurance. So that's a boon for us. The larger portion, which we just started last year, Max was instrumental in getting this going for us, is that if we go out and sell the insurance, for each one we sell, we get a certain piece of commission off of that. And the amount we made last year, and we only did it for what, maybe 4 to 6 months?
We did it for 5 months.
5 months, and we ended up making for the association right around $3,800. So that's pretty good revenue for this association if you look at the numbers we had on our annual budget. So the insurance program is very beneficial all the way around. It's revenue for us, but most importantly for soldiers and airmen, it's going to help them out, and it's an incredibly affordable piece of insurance. And the other thing is when SGLI goes away, or when you retire and SGLI's premiums go through the roof for you, the FBA insurance stays more or less the same. So it's very cost effective when you get to there.
Till you get ready to retire. Once you become 65,
65.
goes away.
So it goes away at that point. But for the gray area folks, it's a nice supplement to have in that period.
It is.
So
When you hit 60, it reduces to half the payout.
60 is reduced to half the payout, you say, Lynn? Okay.
Right.
They still charge the same premium.
Same per diem. or-
Same premium, but half the payout.
Coverage.
Well, you're a little higher risk at that point, I get it. It is a business decision. Okay, guys, so that's all I have. That's all we have for the morning session. I do want to remind everybody, for nominations, please make sure you get with our executive director for any of the officer positions, or if you're interested or you know someone interested of representing us as a delegate. We have lunches in the back for everybody in here, for all registered folks. Take the time. We're going to reconvene back in here at 1:30 to complete. I have an Area 4 and EANGKS update. We'll do our elections, passing of the gavel, and then we'll close out for the year. Please go out and between now and 1:30, after you eat, visit the vendors, show them some love. They're the ones that are helping us put this on. And then just a little FYI, if you're going to be sticking around after the end of the festivities this afternoon, there are some of us that are staying here tonight as well. We are going to keep, I think, a couple of the hospitality rooms open, so if you do want to stick around, have a drink, some snacks, we may even order some pizzas in, depending on how many people are interested. There'll be some of us just kind of hanging out, enjoying some fellowship, and trying not to get shut down by the hotel authorities. So with that, we're going to be in recess until 1:30 this afternoon.
I thought that was part of the challenge.
Challenge accepted.
I'm the guy that designs everything. I just want to go.
I agree. I didn't review it either.
Afternoon, so we can wrap up our business.
Missing some.
We are missing some,
Yeah, we can still go ahead.
but I'm not gonna go out and wake up everybody from their naps, so.
Keep on.
So I had an Angus Area 4 and Angus update prepared. However, we've covered pretty much all the topics that I had. So the Area 4, I do want to reemphasize that the director's roles for Army and Air for Area 4 will be up for vote at National Conference this year. If anybody's interested in running for that, I don't know how crazy everybody would be about having 2 directors from one state. But guess what? If nobody else raises their hand, so be it. If you're interested in that position, we'll put you in for nomination. There's something to think about. The other stuff, this is some of the things I had covered at the other state conferences I've been to, was the TRICARE Reserve Select for Technicians. Gene's already touched on that. One thing I do want to point out for everybody in the room, especially those that are on TRICARE, our EANGKS leadership meets monthly with the people that set policy for TRICARE. So if there is something from the that you need, or somebody, the individuals in your area that are having issues with TRICARE wise, if you up-channel that through myself, I can get it to our executive director, Frank Yoakum. He goes and sits in the meetings with them once a month. He is engaged with them. So if there's something that's not happening for your folks or not happening for you, we've got a direct audience with the TRICARE administrative folks. So please bear that in mind if you know of any issues that are out there. Let's see, we already talked about that. Operation Vet Care, Chris mentioned that in his report. Fabulous program. We basically can go out and ask the executive director at the national level to give us money. I've asked him for $2,000 twice, gotten it both times with no hesitation. All they ask for in return is some pictures of us giving it away, what it's going to be used for, and receipts for how we spent the money. And basically they take all of that and go back to the company that's providing this, and they take it to their sponsors and go, this is what your folks are doing with this money. They're helping veterans. Would you like to be a part of this? They in turn give more money to the association. The association gives more money out to us to give to the vets. And it's a perpetuating cycle, and it's an awesome deal. So as long as they continue to do this, every quarter that I go to the executive council and Frank says, I've still got money, I'm gonna email him that day and say, Frank, give us another $2,000. I might even ask for 3, hell, 4, who knows, whatever he'll give us, and continue to bring that money back to Kansas as another way we can help our vets here in the state. Let's see here, a couple of important deadlines that are coming up. May 1st is our scholarship deadline for the state, and I think May 1st is the deadline for a lot of the national scholarships as well. So bear that in mind. If you got folks you know that they could benefit from this, make sure they're aware of that. Resolutions are due to the Area 4 Resolutions Committee Chair by May 15th. So the normal process will be we bring the resolutions here, we talk about them, and then we push them forth up to Area 4. Obviously we don't have any today, but that's not to say that we can't send something up. If something comes across your mind that you want worked at a national level congressionally and you want the EANGKS national office to focus on it, get a hold of one of the officers of the association and we will get it in resolution format. We'll look at it as a council, vote on it, and then we'll take it to Area 4, but that's got to be done by May 15th. National conference, we talked about this a little bit. It is in Des Moines this year, driving distance. Next year it will be in Little Rock, driving distance again, so it would be nice to have a good presence at both of those the next couple of years. Registration is open on the website, and for those of you who hadn't seen the hotel listing yet, that is out now. We are at the Marriott, so if you have not registered for your hotel for National, our area is in the Marriott, so please get out and get that done. So kind of what I tell everybody as I do this, as an area director and especially the area chair, it is our job to make sure that we take the voice of the states collectively up from Area 4 to the executive committee of EANGKS. We have 3 seats on, each delegate gets a seat, or excuse me, each representative director, I'll get this right yet, each director from the area gets a seat at the table of the executive council. I'm currently serving also on the finance committee and on the Air Force committee as well, Air Guard committee as well. So we get to sit in there and talk about national policy for the association, national conference and things that shape that. But it's not the directors that are taking their agenda forward. We should be taking your agenda forward, what's important to you guys up. So we're representatives. How it's supposed to work in the political arena, but not necessarily how it does. But we're trying to do a little bit more accurate job with that. So any questions about Area 4, EANGKS, or the director positions that will be coming up? All right. So next up, I would ask our Nominations Committee Chair, Greg Gilroy, to come up and let us know where we're at with nominations.
Okay, we have nominated per bylaws, our first vice president, Chris Hargis, is nominated for president. Per bylaws, our second vice president, Kenneth Boyce, is nominated for first vice president. I have received a nomination for second vice president as Steve Payton. And I have received a nomination for treasurer, Nicole Siley. I have not received any nominations for secretary.
So at this time, I would ask, do we have any other nominations from the floor? Once. Any other nominations from the floor? Any other nominations from the floor?
Mr. President, I move the nomination to be closed.
Holt and Delbert Edwards with a second. All in favor of nominations closing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Nominations are closed.
Mr. President,
Mr. Holt.
I move that all individuals be elected as nominated by acclamation.
Second.
Same too. So basically what we're saying, to slow this down for those of you in the room that haven't sat through this dance before, and welcome to Robert's Rules. Since we have all of the nominations that are up are running unopposed, if we as a body vote them in as one time by acclamation, since there is no opposing vote, we don't need to have anybody come up and speak or anything like that, we can do this in one fell swoop and make it nice and quick. So that's the basic gist of what's going on here. So I have a movement, or a motion, excuse me, a motion to elect all of the individuals that were nominated by acclamation, and a second by Mr. Edwards. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the nominations that have been put forth by the Nominations Committee Chair to be chosen by acclamation or signed by acclamation, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Hello.
You're there.
Okay, do I have any nominations to fill the area chairs at this time?
Steve's got one.
Yes, he does.
If you don't now, it's kind of like a bad nickel. You'll hear from me later.
And if you'd like, just so we can continue to move things forward, if you would, just get with Greg afterwards and let us know. Technically, you should go home and have a discussion within your area and vote, but at this point, if you're willing to do it and you're here today, congratulations, you're in. We need a point of contact.
And that point of contact at least needs to call in at the quarterly board meetings and do a vote for your thing. I mean, it'd be great if we get a few to come every once in a while to the board meetings, so it makes our travel beneficial. But call-in's fine, but we need those votes and those proposals put forth at the board meetings. Really, we're falling apart if we leave it like this. So you'll hear from probably Chris more than me, but we're going to be out there. It's got to be our goal, is to fill that board with your representative taking care of your soldiers and airmen.
Thank you,
Do you want
Greg.
me to do, or you going to do the?
What's that? I'll do the national delegates.
Well, do you want to do that, your other thing?
Which one?
Kansas Foundation. You want to do that now, or you want to do the delegates?
No, actually, we have a volunteer that stepped up for Kansas National Guard Foundation, so I think we're going to have that one filled. And again, that one's not elected, that was just a volunteer, so I think we're good there. Thank you, Greg.
Did you want to make a statement on the minutes for who that was?
Who hit me with did you get the National Guard Foundation?
Yeah, so Kansas National Guard Foundation, just for the record, we had a volunteer in the audience. Thank you, Command Sergeant Major Jared Worley.
Thank you.
I would like to add, I mean, we have representation on several other boards, such as the museum, that, Hall of Fame, am I missing anything else?
Museum Board, Hall of Fame.
And National Guard Foundation, yeah.
So if you're interested in any of those, please let Chris and probably Kenneth know that next time a vacancy comes up, if they got your name in their pocket, they can contact you, say you still like to help, and then we can go from there. But these openings come up, and then we need to fill them, and it's hard to talk to everybody. So let them know if you're interested in any of those.
I think we have an empty spot on the museum board now, don't we? Didn't Tina resign?
We got that filled.
Yeah, it's filled. That was filled by Jim Spurlock.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so now for the 2 national conference delegates and 2 alternates. So these will basically be 2 of the 4 individuals that will go to national conference and represent us, fully paid for by the association. And then we will also, after that, we will go ahead and take whoever we want to nominate right now, and then we're going to have to do a paper vote, aren't we? Because we have to count these up.
Yes.
So we'll have to do a paper vote and count these up, and we'll announce in the closing ceremony who our national conference delegates will be. We'll count those up afterwards, but we'll be ranked 1 through 4. First and second will be the 2 delegates.
You'll rank however many nominations you have.
Yes.
Let's do the nomination.
Do nominations.
Right, we'll take the top 4. The top 2 will be the national delegates, and the next 2 will be the alternates. So, do I have any nominations for delegates to represent EANGKS at the national conference?
I would like to nominate Nicole.
That's Sergeant Major Lynn Holt with Nicole Salee. Any further nominations?
I would like to nominate Alyssa Parks. Okay.
She is respectfully declined.
She respectfully. I'm sorry.
I'll nominate myself.
Gene Bradley has graciously nominated himself.
Good job.
I'll nominate myself. I don't know if I'd be able to go in.
I'd like to nominate Ken Boyce.
I'd like to nominate Jennifer Milnes.
Same here.
Jennifer Milnes.
Milnes.
M-I-L-L-N-E-S.
M-I-L-N-E-S.
Oh, so close.
What did you say that?
Jennifer Milnes. M-I-L-N-E-S. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, hearing none.
So that gives us 4.
We have 4. Okay, so the nominations are closed. So at this time, what I would ask everybody in the room to do is take out a piece of scratch paper. And how have we done this in the past? Have we asked them to rank them by number? Okay.
Top one gets
It's a silent vote.
Okay, so basically how this is going to work, we're going to read again the 4 nominees that we have. Your first selection, give them 4, because they're getting 4 points. Your second selection, 3, third selection, 2, fourth selection, 1. And then they'll be ranked in order of the amount of points they get.
Would you repeat the names again, please?
Yeah,
Yep. So we have Nicole Salee, Gene Bradley, Ken Boyce, and Jennifer Milnes. Milnes. Jennifer Milnes.
We have one more time.
That's Nicole Salee, Jean Bradley, Ken Boyce, and Jennifer Milnes.
If each one of you wouldn't mind just momentarily standing up and letting everybody know who you're with. Jean, if you would.
I'm with the 190th Area Cooling Wing.
Drug Force Headquarters. Sorry, 105th MPAD.
105th MPAD, Ken?
Recruiting and Retention Battalion.
Okay, so 3 Army and 1 Air, kind of spread throughout the state.
Make sure you put the numbers by.
Yep, put the numbers by the name.
4321.
4 is your top pick.
Yes, 4's top. That's the point.
You put yourself last.
Give yourself last.
Way to go, Jean.
Go get yours. Pull it back.
We can close out. Yep. Mr. Executive Director, sir. Yes.
Attach your ballots down this way, please. Are there any other ballots?
Yeah, there will be.
Okay, I'll come around.
So while we're tidying the ballots up, I got a few things I want to finish out with without a microphone. Battery's dead. So for those of you that have put your name down for area chair, and those of you that are now incoming officers, are we going to have a meeting this afternoon, Chris?
It will be a very brief meeting.
Okay, so what time do you want to do that?
Immediately following closing.
Immediately following closing?
So we could probably do it out here in the main hallway or
Right
right
back
here.
here.
Are we opening this back up?
I don't think so.
No.
So we'll come right back in here then.
We'll come right back.
This is in the thing of the conference. It's in the agenda.
For this afternoon? That's exactly what we're saying. We're going to come right back.
We'll just come right back.
It'll be,
Right.
but after, you mean after, not after.
After we close
After the
business.
closing
Are there
ceremony.
any other
Yes.
ballots?
Okay, so there will be for everybody, any area chairs or officers, we will have a short meeting in here immediately following the closing ceremony in the general area. Just basically to probably set the schedule for next year. Our incoming president will tell us when whether he wants to meet quarterly, or we've been meeting every other month. So we'll probably get those few things nailed down. The speaker that they're having at 2:30 over in the main area, from what I'm told, he's very dynamic. Very dynamic. He's huge. Huge deer.
You got this, Troy.
So, but he's a very dynamic speaker, very entertaining. Highly recommend you guys go over and listen to that. Trying to think what other housekeeping. Like I said, if you're going to be around for this evening, come over, have some drinks, hang out at the hospitality room. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed this experience as president. This afternoon, during the closing ceremony, we will swear in our new officers. So anybody that's elected to a new officer position, be prepared to be up in front of the group being sworn in. She'll be sworn in by our past president. This is something I would like to start as a new tradition, is have our outgoing past president be the individual that swears in the incoming president as their last act as an officer. So I think that's kind of fitting to push them on their way out. Yeah. So,
believe me, I was more than happy to go.
and I won't be able to kick him because he'll be out of reach. That, and then we will announce the national conference delegates after we get the tallies done in there as well. I want to say thank you for everybody that has supported the association under my tenure. Please continue to do so. I was tickled to death I'd be scared to death when Max put the idea in my ear, about 4 years ago? 5 years ago, but by the time I worked my way up to the vice position and kind of figured everything out, man, it's easy to get excited about this. I'm very passionate about it. I've really enjoyed getting to work with everybody, getting to enjoy at all levels, the state, national, regional. It's just been a fantastic group of people to be associated with. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I promise to continue to be engaged and help out as a past president.
and probably with some committee work. But even though you're not sworn in yet, Mr. President, gavel is yours.
Oh, good grief. Thank you. Put that right back down where it belongs. I'm just going to save a few comments, mainly to kind of just let you know what kind of a person I am. We all have our little niches, right? So I'm gonna key in on a few things just for us to leave on a positive note. Excuse me. Okay. By show of hands, who's a mentor in this room? By show of hands, who has a mentor? What does that tell us in this room?
A lot of mentoring going on.
Yes, he's a field artillery guy. You're going to have to excuse him. I was looking for a more analytical response. What that means to me, though, is we wouldn't be here doing what we do without having some help, right? We need to pull in our new generation of soldiers and airmen to carry the torch, to pass that baton, to show them the ropes and convince them that they have the confidence and the abilities to be able to carry on what we do, our legacy, right? These, I don't want to call them old guys, but the retirees around here and the soon-to-be retired have carried that torch for many, many years, and frankly, they're probably tired of carrying that torch at times. So again, as I've come up in my time, I've just kept that in my mind to try to really, really hone in and to pick that torch up and just keep the machine rolling. So please do your best to keep educating our younger professionals, because again, they're professionals, whether they know that about themselves or not. They're airmen, they're serving, they're in uniform. Make them own that. That's we are a profession of arms. I just got some education last week. I think several of us in the room we attended some, and I thought that was a very good event. I thought that was fantastic. Speakers were, again, dynamic. They were amazing. They were energetic. Again, I take it personally. I take everything that I do very personally. But I really do truly believe in lifelong learning, right? So I'm still learning my role, and just because I'm being voted in today as the president, I do not know all the parliamentary procedures. I will mess this up. I will sometimes say things that doesn't always make sense either. But I know I have a group that will steer me in the right direction. My goal is to, talking to Sergeant Major Whitley, again, I'm open to feedback, how we can do business better in our future. The main thing is always communication, right? We don't know what we're doing half the time. Sometimes it's weird until you get to the conference to even figure out what the agenda looks like sometimes. So I'm going to try to do better. Okay, that's what I'll say to that. I'm going to try to do better and to carry that into the future. I'm going to leave you with a couple more plugs, and then we need to close this up so that I know you guys have the rest of your day to go about. The legislative piece of what we do is huge. We can't say that more and more and more. An example headline for you real quick. In the EANGKS Minuteman, it's an electronic update of what happens across the country, if you don't know what it is. There was a headline on the EANGKS Minuteman update, and it basically read, National Guard expects $193 million shortfall in training account due to border deployments. I don't know if you know what that means, but the article was implying basically they are taking your training dollars away from you that you would be normally using for other schools or for training opportunities, this and that, to deploy guardsmen and airmen to the border. And that's I'm not arguing the politics of that, but the association could and is going forward with some form of, that's probably a bad idea. They're going to do this and step out there because that takes away from your training dollars. It takes away from your ability to train your troops. Is the mission right, wrong, or indifferent? That's not for me to decide. I'm not the big persons that make those decisions. But again, that's what the association thinks about sometimes. They think about very, very deep legislative initiatives that they can push forward in our future, and hopefully it's for the voice, right? They're hoping to speak out for the voice of our states But again, we can help feed some of those initiatives if we just stay involved. We funnel that information up like they do ask of us to do. So enough on that. Enough being said. So again, legislative is a monster piece of what we do. The membership fight, just like recruiting and retention in our services, isn't going to go away. We really represent a core value of people, a core number of people. We go to people to speak to them, and we say our membership is this. And we always want to show growth, and because the growth does matter. And when you're speaking with reps and lawmakers and such, they do get excited about those numbers, especially if you can show some significant growth. Immediately after we close up general session, there is an invite to every one of you if you would like to stay and listen to about a 10-minute scheduling of our next executive council meetings. If not, I understand because you've had a long day. I'll funnel out a list of meeting dates that will be basically a scheduled dates of our next year of executive council meetings, okay? Anybody's always welcome to show up to our executive council meetings. We change locations periodically throughout the state so that we get down to the 184th backyard and we get over to Salina, and you know, we're trying to make it easier so that people aren't traveling as far each and every time. And again, my last thing I'll leave you with, to the new blood, how about that? And there's a few of you guys, a few new faces in the room. To the new blood, whether you're older or younger, it doesn't matter your age, to the new people that are in audience today, you have ideas. You have new ideas that you can offer us, legislative ideas, things that we may not be thinking about on behalf of the entire state, right? We try to do our best as a committee to come up with ideas too, but it sure helps whenever we hear ideas back from the field. So don't be afraid to always email us, to reach out to any of us, and just continue to know that we're here. Even if you don't become an active member, just know that you can reach out to us, and do often. Even if you just have a question, we can always feed you back some information. And that's all I have. Anything else? Mr. President?
Are we able to announce our delegates now? Do you have the rankings done? Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. So,
keeping in mind that the executive board still has 2 nominations left, so I'm sure they will take into account this here to do those. So, and I assume that they'll still can submit names to the executive council to be selected at a later date. The resolution we passed was the meeting before the conference.
As long as it's before the meeting before the cutoff for submission.
Yeah.
So that will work out to be our June council meeting if we continue on with every other month. So if you've got anybody else interested in being a national delegate, let us know before June so we can give them due consideration.
Okay. So selected delegates was Nicole Selly and Jennifer Milnes. And then the alternate is Boyce.
And G.
And G.
Yes, 2 alternates, G.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Close this out.
You have the gavel.
Okay, so that being said, our final
1 through 7 orders.
again, here's where the parliamentary procedures is going to suck for me. I apologize for this.
Mr. President, I would like to move that we,
thank you.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Seconded by Jim, the one and only Fenton.
This guy.
So I told you I'll have to work on some stuff. This is that.
So now just call for the vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Same sign. We're adjourned.
Hand me that.